Welcome to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine, the show that teaches you how to survive the things that could kill you.
Like a bridge collapse, a possessed mountain lion, or climbing Mount Everest?
Oof. Or the things that, kind of just make you wish you were dead.
Being the house that gave out raisins yesterday? Walking around with your fly down? How about getting caught with your pants around your ankles?
Ooh, I don't want to be a part of any of those things.
Well, then you better just listen to this theme song.
I will.
Ground is shaking under our feet. Mountains on fire, flooding in the street. Can't breathe the air, can't fight the feeling. Gobbling down Xanax ain't the way to be dealing. Gotta do better than just getting high. We gotta stick together if we're gonna survive. How to survive. How to survive.
Welcome to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. I am Danielle.
I'm Kristine.
Kristine, what was the phrase you made up right before we got on air about party?
Let's start the party? No, that wasn't it.
No.
It was put on your glasses.
Put on your sound.
Put on your
Let's
sound.
party start?
Let's
Party start?
like 30 seconds.
I know. We're so fucked up.
We can't remember. What is...
It was genius, whatever it was.
It was like...
It was
put on your glasses.
Something of a combination of the words party and start.
Put on your glasses. Put on your sound. Put on your party.
Start 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 your party.
And here we are.
And we are starting
the party.
Speaking of parties, so my son went to I guess technically his first high school party. Well, before you get so excited.
I'm very excited.
So, and it was sort of a dress up Halloween thing. I'm not sure why everything's being done like a whole week ahead of time, but it was just like a vampire themed costume party.
Yeah.
So he wore just like a brown shirt, brown pants, and then a Dracula cape, which I
Okay.
called a cloak, which Jimmy and Oliver
Cloak is correct.
Well, they said I sounded like my mother. Oh, it's a cloak. I was like, I don't know. What else do you call it?
I think cloak
Anyway,
sounds
and then he
correct.
just wore a "My name is" tag that said, "My name is Dracula," because the rest was so blah. Not that. Anyway,
That's funny.
I thought it was cute. So on the way there, I said, look, and I was very casual about it. I was like, look, if there's alcohol and you decide to drink, just make sure you eat first. because you're really skinny.
Yeah.
And you need food to like absorb it a little bit. And he just looked at me, he's like, there's not going to be alcohol and I'm not drinking. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but just remember it for the future. And
Yeah.
when you drink for the first time, you got to eat first. So anyway, so then I pick him up and I was like, so how'd it go? And he was like, yeah, it was fun. I go, what'd you do? He goes, we played Mad Libs.
Wow.
What the fuck is going on with high school kids?
I think things have gotten much more innocent.
I know. I was like, oh, I guess there was no alcohol then. And he was like, no. I was like, oh, all right.
Jeez, Euphoria is getting it all
I was
wrong.
a little disappointed.
Wow.
But then I couldn't really remember that many. I couldn't really picture any high school parties I was at except for one at the very, very beginning of high school where, I was dropped off and all these, I didn't know anyone because it was like right when high school started and that someone was passing around pot brownies, which turned out to be not rosemary. What's the thing people use for?
Parsley?
No.
Like for fake pot?
Yeah.
Some kind of spice?
Yeah. Oregano.
Yes.
Oregano brownies.
Yes.
I was like, well, it sure tastes like pasta sauce.
Why do these taste like Chef Boyardee?
Yeah, exactly. But that's all I really remember. I'm sure there were a million parties. I just don't think, like my group of friends, we all just hung out as a group of friends and we had like dinner parties and stuff.
I never went to a high school party because my friends just drank beer in the woods on the backs of
That's not a party?
pickup trucks. Yeah. Oh, those were like parties where guys rode four-wheelers and
Got it. And you were at those?
I was at those.
Yeah.
So, but they weren't really high school parties. I'm imagining like girls that were really popular that were cheerleaders and the football team. Like they had different kinds of parties.
Beer funnels.
I don't know. I'd be curious if they drank. They probably did. Listen,
Yeah.
if anybody I went to high school with that was popular is listening to this podcast, which I doubt, but if you are, I want to know about the parties.
Are you friends on Facebook with any people you went to high school with?
I am. So yeah, if you're listening, please tell me. What were those parties like? I know what my parties were like.
That's exactly, that party you just described happened in the Americans.
Yes.
where she's at, like just in the backwoods, just drinking with a bunch of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like Dazed and Confused was definitely like the parties of my high school.
Gotcha.
Karen?
To the surprise of nobody, I never went to any of that kind of stuff.
No.
No, I had friends who would come and try to kidnap me from my house because I would never go anywhere.
You were
Oh,
socially
Yeah, I just didn't.
not interested.
It was movie theaters or laser tag, and that was it for me. Like I never did parties. I never felt the urge to go.
That's
did
very
you
sweet.
did you let her in laser tag?
Did I let her in laser tag? I would
Did
have.
you get a
It was Lord X
patch?
was my name on my little fob.
Lord X?
Lord X. I loved the letter X for some reason.
Because it's sexy.
I guess, yeah. XXX.
You mean you got to be the same name every time you
Yeah.
did laser tag? Mm-hmm. Okay. You know what? I don't think I've witnessed laser tag.
Yes.
I don't think I've actually ever participated.
There was one down the street here that's actually pretty good. It's
I
been a
think,
while since
I think I brought Oliver to a birthday party there once.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
How
Anyway.
have we missed out? How have we missed out on the delight that is laser tag? You know what we should do? You and I should go play laser tag sometime.
The three of us.
All of us, yes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And we'll film it.
Oh, that'd be fun. Are you? Oh, like with a.
Yeah, we'll
is that
GoPro
called?
it. We'll
GoPro.
GoPro it.
Yeah.
People are dying to see this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Listen,
Excitement of
speaking
laser tag.
of not that.
Wait, what did you say, Karen?
I said the excitement of laser tag just firsthand.
Yeah,
with a
right,
GoPro.
right.
It'd be wonderful.
Listen, I don't have a transition,
Okay.
but I have something really exciting to talk about.
Okay.
Everest.
Mount.
The Mount.
Okay.
Have you guys read Into the Air, John Krakauer?
Wait a second. No. Jimmy read that one. I read Under the
Banner of Heaven.
Banner of Heaven. That's also
Excellent.
Krakauer, right?
Yes.
Right. About the Mormon. Oh, it's so freaking good.
Well, you know, he's such a powerful narrative nonfiction writer.
Yeah.
Well, you should read Into Thin Air.
I will.
It's fascinating. I think
It's probably on our shelf somewhere.
that's what excited me originally about Everest. And also
Okay.
just the idea that people want to do this.
Climb mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sides of mountains with like the ropes,
Oh, God. That are like 30-degree angles and it's like
ice,
sheer.
the whole thing. All right. I'm going to first start with establishing where Everest is in everyone's minds.
Okay.
Because not everyone knows.
I would appreciate it.
It straddles the border of Nepal and Tibet. Tibet?
Tibet.
Not Tibet.
No.
Jeez, Chris. So everyone knows where that is now, and I don't need to say another word.
Right. Well, it's like East.
It's
so East Asia or Northeast,
I
right?
looked that up because that didn't really help me. Tibet it's part of China,
Right.
but independent of China,
Right.
but sort of.
but not recognized as its own.
But Tibet's like, please don't make us be part of you anymore.
Right.
But China's like, too bad, we own you.
Yeah.
So it's in the bottom lower half of China.
Oh, okay. I was picturing it more northern, but okay.
It's pretty big.
Is Tibet itself is pretty
Yeah.
big? Okay.
It's a large mass of land. And then
It's such an American name. Is that because whoever conquered it was named Everest?
yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to
Sorry, I just got a little off track.
that.
But
We can find that out.
certainly doesn't sound Tibetan.
Nepal is much smaller. Mm-hmm. I was also shocked to find out Everest is very close to the equator
Okay.
at 28 degrees, which is the same as Tampa, Florida.
Oh. Yeah, I was picturing it much more north.
It's wild. All right. So here's-
Pretending I know where Tampa, Florida is. I know where Florida is, but
pick one,
Okay.
Tampa or Everest.
yeah, okay. Where's your winter home going to be?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. This mountain was formed 50 to 60 million years ago by the upward force generated when the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates collided, pushing up the rocks to form the highest mountain on Earth. Except there's an underwater mountain in Hawaii that's taller.
Oh, Jesus.
But you can't really climb an underwater mountain.
Not without, some scuba gear.
Yeah, you got to have that and like be in a shark tank.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Ooh, for a lot of reasons, right?
Right.
This is still happening. Did you know this? So the Everest summit gets about 1/4 of an inch higher each year.
Way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, could you imagine you're just like, I can't I thought this was a quarter inch shorter. I can't go
So
another.
Is there an asterisk next to the people who have climbed it every year prior to the current year? Because it's like, well, they didn't really go as far as
There
this
should
guy
be.
because it's now 3 inches taller.
I went further than you. Would you like to know what's dangerous about Everest?
I'm sure a lot.
There's so many things, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you some things, and then I'm gonna tell you some more things.
I like that order. And then we'll get ready to party or whatever the fuck you
then we're gonna party, and we're gonna party harder. So it's at 29,032 feet. Up there, it has about 1/3 the air pressure of sea level, which means climbers can't get enough oxygen. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you've seen the summit of Everest, but it's very small. I know you haven't seen it in person. I mean,
Right.
I'm going to assume you haven't climbed Everest. I feel like I know that about you by now.
No, I've climbed the Culver City stairs. That's about it.
That's, I mean, comparable.
Right.
Garen, how about you? Have you climbed Everest?
I can barely climb the ramp to this door outside, let alone Everest.
All right. So just full disclosure, I've also not climbed Everest. I feel like.
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, I want to share that right
I
now.
honestly would not be shocked if you said you had.
Well, she was a Sherpa one year when she was trying to,
Right?
in between college years, she had to make a little extra money, and she was a Sherpa.
I was a Sherpa, so I did help someone else up Everest, but that doesn't count. One climber described it as about the size of 2 ping pong tables. That's how small
Holy
it is at the
ghost.
top.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Also, it's a very dangerous game of ping pong.
Oh my God.
you
Well, I
imagine?
mean, because
Stakes
you're
are
going
high.
to lose the ball every time. You got to have like 1,000 balls.
Yeah, they have a little thing up there that just pops out a new ball.
Oh, fun.
It's really cool. You should go up, but you have to
Yeah.
climb to see it if you want
Right.
to see it. So as the climbers move up the mountain, their oxygen intake is reduced, which puts them at an increasing risk of a number of dangerous physical ailments, such as pulmonary edema. Mm-hmm. Does anybody know what that is?
I'm going to say swelling
Yes.
of the pulmonary. I'm going to say I'm going to say your veins expand
I'm going to tell you
or constrict.
what it is.
No, edema is swelling.
It's a buildup of fluid in the lungs.
Oh, pulmonary. Idiot. Oh my God.
If you have this, if this happens to you and it's not, treated, the death it feels like drowning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not a nice way.
Drowning in your own body.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Or cerebral edema.
Okay, swelling of the brain.
Correct. Blood embolisms, which is a blocked artery caused by a foreign body, such as a blood clot or an air bubble. So, nobody wants this for you. Here's another thing that can happen. Frostbite also dramatically increases at these higher altitudes because the heart has to work harder to pump blood around the body, delivering oxygen. And the main priority for the blood is going to be your organs, your life-giving organs, and your fingers and toes are like last on the list. So that's why so many
Right.
people lose the fingers and toes.
Don't you think as soon as I parked to get to the bottom of Mount Everest and got out of the van, I would get frostbite?
Yeah.
Can't wait. That's pretty much a given, right?
I think you would immediately turn to stone,
Yeah. Not ice.
You would just go straight to stone. You would
Turns ice.
right from ice to stone.
Right.
Almost all climbers on Everest use supplemental oxygen.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Okay, they must, right?
They have to minimize this effect of the extreme altitude.
Right.
It's not a perfect solution. Here's all the reasons.
Okay.
It costs a lot of money. Those canisters are heavy.
Yeah.
Also bad for the mountain because a lot of them get littered and left behind once they're empty.
So I was going to say that. Isn't there a major problem with littering?
Major.
Okay.
I'm going to talk more about
So
that.
disgusting.
It's bad.
It's got to be easier to bring an empty one down the mountain than a full one up the mountain.
Yeah. You're right.
Assholes.
Except you're really tired.
Okay.
So here's another issue. You run out on summit day. Summit day is the day you're going to the top.
Okay.
You're going to reach the top. Your body, okay, so you run out of oxygen, but your body's not able to adapt to the sudden lack of oxygen because the supplemental oxygen is working for you the whole time. So this whole time, your body isn't adapting.
So you should be waiting until the very end to use the oxygen?
You can't though.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
No, I'm gonna get into when you start using the supplemental oxygen. So, I also read in a different article. I'm gonna source all this. Don't worry, guys. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due.
By the way, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, Chris has been kicking ass with the newsletter. It's really cool. There's a lot of fun extra stuff in it. And I'm just saying that because I know you'll put the links in the newsletter and everything.
I will put the links. I will. I don't want people to think I just know this much about Everest.
You know this much about everything.
I just wake up knowing this. A lot of the times the oxygen tanks are unreliable and they fail, which is a bummer. But like I said, almost everybody has to use them, even super athletes. Okay, here's another thing that's kind of a bummer about Everest. The industry is built on the backs, literally, of this small group of professional Nepalese. Do you think I'm saying that right?
I do.
Guides who work together each spring to get the route ready. So they're the ones that go up and install all the ropes. They fix the ropes in the mountain.
I didn't know
and the ladders.
I didn't know that was a permanent thing.
Well, they have to redo it each time.
Interesting. Okay.
They stock each camp with tents, the stoves, the bottled oxygen, the food.
Oh.
And then they coach the climbers up to the summit. I mean, can you imagine I just keep thinking about these Sherpas and what they're put through by these like uber wealthy, entitled Tesla driving fuckers.
Yeah.
And it's mostly like white men, and I'm like, what's a white guy that's a Karen? Like, what do you call that?
I think there was a name for a while, but
is it Brad?
I think it's Chad.
I
think that's what.
So it's all these Chads.
But I guess I didn't realize maybe that's one way to do it. I'm pretty sure. I thought that some people set up their own tents and bring their own food.
It's mostly this way.
Ah, okay. So it's very expensive then.
Wait until you hear.
Okay.
It's coming. I love your curiosity and you're bringing up everything we're going to talk about. And I love that. Historically, it's been the Sherpas. This is a Tibetan tribe of people who live closest to the mountain, who are hired by the expeditions to keep, all these dum-dums alive. But now there are multiple ethnic groups who find employment on the mountain, leading to this new term of high altitude mountain worker.
Okay.
Which is kind of it's kind of dumb sounding, but it's better because it encompasses the entire group of people who are helping out at Everest. I guess you could say, in one respect, it's creating an industry for this group of people. But listen to this. For a typical 3 to 4 month Everest expedition, most earn between $2,500 and $5,000.
For 3 to how many months?
3 to 4 months. That's the entire amount they earn.
But it's so expensive. So where does the money go? To a bigger company that hires them out or something?
Well, I'm going to break it down just so you can see. I don't know what the cost of living is in these places, and I would guess that might be a good amount of money compared to other things they can do. It's maybe a valuable position to have, but it's so risky.
Yeah.
So, okay. But what's good about it, that in recent years, there have been more safety standards for these guides, and they've begun to receive training and certifications in international standards.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of. I don't think that's the correct expression.
2 steps forward, 1 step back?
Maybe.
Okay.
So it's getting better in certain ways, and then there are other ways that it's getting worse that I'm going to get into. You might be thinking to yourself right now, I don't know, Danielle. You might not. How long does this take?
To climb up the mountain?
Yeah.
I was wondering that earlier.
Well, I'm going to share the journey of the South Col route. So there's 2 main routes. There's like 17 different ways you can do it, but there's 2 that are like the main stays.
Okay.
So I'm going to share the one that was taken by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. These were the first men that summited Everest in 1953. This is the route that's used most frequently. It goes through the treacherous Khumbu Ice Fall and Western Khum, which is spelled CWM, but you say Khum.
CWM.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun, right? Just fun words. Up the Lhotse face and past the South Col and Hillary Step to the summit.
Okay.
Just some fun, some fun words. Most teams meet in Kathmandu. You know Kathmandu.
Kathmandu. Isn't there a song, Kathmandu?
Isn't it Bob Seger? I think I'm going to Kathmandu. Oh, yes, I really, really want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Kathmandu is not a country? What is it?
Kathmandu, I think, is the capital of...
Oh, yes, that's right. Nepal?
Nepal or Tibet.
Okay.
It's probably Nepal. We're going to check that.
We'll check that.
Garen's good at helping us with that. Garen's the best. Okay. They meet in late March to begin acclimatizing.
Acclimatizing. These are
Yes.
the Sherpas are doing this?
This is the teams. So most people are on a team. And because they're not just like, I'm going to climb Everest by myself. Most
Right.
people are going on a guided, it's like, a guided tour.
Just like a bachelor weekend.
Yeah.
For like the ultra wealthy.
They all have got their penis hats on.
Yeah.
So as they start trekking.
Even the not a bachelorette, but a bachelor party.
Yes.
They have their penis hats on?
Yes.
Okay.
So as they start trekking towards base camp, their staff, this is the what it would formerly be called. I'm gonna say Sherpas because I don't remember
The general term for
Yes.
the guides? Okay.
and I'm just gonna say Sherpas so we know what I'm talking about. But we're assuming it's a broader term that encompasses everyone. The Sherpas are already on the mountain carrying loads and preparing the route to the summit. As the teams are making their way to the base camp.
Okay.
They spend nearly 2 weeks just hiking to the base camp, which sits
What?
this is at an altitude of around 17,000 feet. So base camp is at 17,000 feet.
2 weeks?
Yeah. So it takes them 2 weeks to hike there to base
Okay.
camp. So they're there for about 2 weeks adjusting to the altitude.
Okay.
And then waiting on the good weather conditions before they can continue going to other camps along the way.
Gotcha.
So it's a really long process. So most climbers spend months or even years before thinking about making it to the Himalayas. In April, they start making overnight rotations to higher and higher camps up the mountain. So this is before. So this is this is all in the process of acclimatizing, getting their bodies used to the higher altitudes. And again, like I said, the Nepalese guides, the Sherpas, they're going up to the summit. By the second week of May, everything should be ready to go. Are
you saying that the climbers are up there for 2 months? The tourists?
Yes. The whole process. So they're not up high, but
they're on the mountain
Yes.
for this long.
yes. So
Okay, I was completely
it's a really long deal.
I was completely in the dark about how this is done. Okay.
After final rest, so some teams even decamp the mountain entirely. They come all the way back down to spend a few nights at a lower elevation so they can completely recover.
Okay.
Then they do the summit push. That normally takes place over a grueling 4 to 5 days round trip from base camp. Again, the base camp is 17,000 feet. Assuming they aren't dead, most Everett climbers are on their way home by the beginning of June. So with that being said,
And then they get up there and it's the size of 2 ping pong tables.
yes, and you're not going to believe how crowded it is. I'm not there yet, but I want to talk to you how dangerous Everest is.
Yeah.
Okay. Statistically, Everest is becoming safer. Gear's gotten better. Weather forecasting has gotten super precise.
Okay.
And more people are climbing with these commercial operations. So I got this according to a respected Everest chronicler, Alan Arnett. One problem with the super precision of weather, though, so what they used to do with the climbing is they would have staggered climbs with these different teams.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know exactly what the weather was. Well, now weather forecasting has become so precise that everyone knows exactly
the same day.
the moment, so they're all going at once.
Right.
This is bad news. Another reason that it's gotten a little better is that the Nepalese government has brought in tougher rules requiring more training and experience because there was this huge spike in deaths in 2019.
I do believe I read about this.
So this is 11 climbers died, which is the deadly,
in 1 year?
Yeah, the deadliest year in Everest's history. They were trying to reach the summit, and but then in 2022, only 2 climbers died. So this year, only 2 climbers died. On average, around 5 climbers die every year.
Oh my God.
So
you're really taking a chance.
I'm going to give you the odds of dying on Everest. So at least 310 people have died total climbing Everest.
Okay.
While there have been 9,159 successful summit climbs by 5,294 people. Those are just
Some people have done it more than once, is what they're saying.
I'm just throwing out some numbers.
Got it.
And the overall death rate. So this is the number of fatalities divided by the overall number of people on the mountain. This is not just those who summit. Because some people don't make it to the
all the way
summit.
to the top. Okay.
Some people die before they get there, you know.
Jesus Christ. All right.
It's approximately 1.2%, meaning that if you try to climb Everest, you have about 1 in 100 chance of dying along the way.
That's not nothing.
No, let's compare that to some other odds. You have a 1 in 1,024 chance of drowning. You have a 1 in 107 chance of dying in a car crash.
A 1 in what?
107.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, that's really common.
Yeah. So
All right.
it's a little bit less than a car crash.
All right.
1 in 100. You have a 1 in 67 chance of dying of an opioid overdose.
If you take opioids, I'm assuming, not just in general.
1 in 21 chance of dying from all preventable causes of death.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to know cancer?
Okay.
1 in 6.
1 in 6 chance of dying of cancer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously 1 in 100 chance of Everest if you climb Everest. So,
Right.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same as opioids.
But if you get that pulmonary edema, then you can drown and die of them. You can conquer 2 deaths at once.
Yeah, exactly. So, way to kill 2 people with one.
One person with 2
Birds.
stones.
Oh, we know what we're saying. All right. Would you like to know? Oh my gosh, these are the big hazards on Everest. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
I love this. Okay. Number 1, the death zone. All right, you're in the death zone of Everest when you get above 26,000 feet. Once you're up there, there's not enough oxygen and your body and mind can fall apart. So here's the major risk: cognitive impairment.
Okay.
Climbers have been so out of it, they've just walked right off the cliff and fallen to their deaths.
Shit.
A study of deaths on Everest between 1921 and 2006 found that 59 of 94 deaths that occurred in the death zone were due to falls or disappearances.
Wait, did you say 1921?
Yeah. Because people were still trying to...
Oh, he was the first
Yes.
in the 50s, but
People were trying before that.
oh,
And this...
it's like that ocean thing. Like, oh, the seawater. I'm
Yes.
going to go out for a pack of cigarettes.
Exactly. Exactly. It also forces climbers, the death zone also forces climbers to slow down as they descend the mountain, making them more susceptible to exhaustion, hypothermia, altitude sickness, avalanches. So the majority of fatalities in the death zone are climbers after they've summited,
Oh, fuck.
right?
That's infuriating.
Yeah, you just saw those ping pong tables,
Yep.
and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to go out for a pack of cigarettes.
Oh, for God's sake.
Bye. Avalanches, ice fall, and rock fall. Those have caused some of the deadliest days on Everest. What's scary about these situations is they can kill a lot of climbers at once.
It sounds like it.
And so consider the fact that a lot of these climbers, they're all roped together
Oh,
on these teams.
Shit.
Here's one situation. In April of 2015, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit Nepal, killing 9,000 people.
Oh, my God.
Caused an avalanche on Everest that killed 22 people.
Holy ghost.
This was the deadliest day on the mountain. I think earlier I said it was the deadliest day on the mountain. Scratch that. This was the deadliest day on the mountain. The year before, 16 climbers were swept off the mountain in an avalanche.
So does the Sherpa, are they also tied to them, or they're like, you're on your own?
I think so.
they are tied to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, altitude sickness, as
Yeah.
we would imagine, claimed the lives of 52 climbers between 1921 and 2006. If climbers remain below 12,000 feet, they're unlikely to experience the more severe forms of altitude sickness, which may cause difficulty walking, increased breathlessness, a bubbling sound in the chest,
Ew.
coughed up liquid that is pink and frothy,
Oh, Jesus.
and confusion or loss of consciousness. Okay,
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I'm picturing the pink and frothy. I can't take it.
it doesn't make you want a Starbucks drink?
No. It makes me want
You got to this is a medical emergency. If you don't get immediate descent to a lower altitude, you might die.
Yeah.
All right. So when people climb Everest, here's what happens. They did some research in the British Medical Journal, and they looked at deaths on Everest from 1921 and 2006 and found that profound fatigue and late times in reaching the summit are early features associated with subsequent death. Here's the safest way to climb Everest. When people climb Everest, the mantra is that you have to get up to the summit by a certain time so that you can get down while you still have oxygen left and while you still have daylight.
Okay.
Too often, people refuse to turn around when they should have because they can see the summit and they think it's close enough to justify continuing.
Oh, so if you don't, okay, so they're saying, 25 days, say, I know it's more than that, but if you're at day 24 and you haven't gotten to the summit yet, you need to turn around.
It's not even days, it's hours.
Oh.
It's people see it.
Yeah.
And they're looking at, it's timed by like the hour. And they're like,
of when you're going to run out of oxygen?
they're like, I should have turned around by now, but they're still 2 hours away.
Got it.
They're like, no, I can do this.
And then they run out of oxygen.
But they don't, it's that thing where they think they're a lot closer than they are because they can see it.
Sure.
There's a lot more hours away. And then they just didn't time it correctly.
And then they died.
And then they die. Now that you've heard how fun it sounds.
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, how do I get in on this?
Sure.
All right. It's not cheap.
I was going to say, now I understand, though, why people go for the expensive option, because you want someone who knows what they're doing.
Climbers can pay anywhere from $35,000 to over $100,000.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I think you don't want to skimp on this, right?
Yeah.
Just pay the high amount. $11,000 just for the climbing permit from the
Okay.
government that you pay to the government.
And they're
of Nepal
only
or Tibet.
issued over in certain times.
Correct. You got to go in this April-May
Right.
window. You've got the bottled oxygen, the high altitude gear, tents, sleeping bags, boots, covers medical care, food and support from the Sherpa guides, bottled oxygen. So people still attempt to climb without the use of supplemental oxygen, but it's rare. Oh my God. It sounds dumb and dangerous.
So dumb.
I did read a really interesting article in the Washington Post. It gets into all the dirty details of these men who've climbed without the oxygen and what it happens to the body when it's deprived of oxygen. Just this one pull quote from the piece. Even some climbers who appeared to make it down just fine discover later that they've suffered permanent brain damage.
Oh, for God's sake.
So I say...
Because they didn't want to kick in for the oxygen?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So another problem...
oh, my God, that's terrible.
I do want to mention that 90% of climbers are going on these guided climbs now. And
Yeah.
often these clients don't have the basic climbing skills needed for this kind of trip.
Right.
They have the money, which
Right.
is, appealing, right?
They think it's like, oh, the guides will teach me everything I need
Yes.
to know.
And because they paid so much money, that they think that should guarantee them a spot on the summit. It's like, I paid $100,000. I
Yeah.
want to get to that summit. It's all ego. That means the two main climbing routes have become not only grossly polluted with garbage leaking from glaciers, pyramids of human waste, and so many dead bodies. Because it's really expensive to move the dead bodies. And you can't, how can you move a dead body
Can they
that high?
just knock it down? Can they just push it? Get a little push?
Sometimes people do push them into crevasses.
I'm just saying, like, do a boink, 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 boink. Just like go down. I mean, gravity.
Well,
just throw it down.
The climate change is starting. They've been covered, though, also with ice and snow, a lot of these bodies. And now they're starting to reveal a lot because of climate change melting.
Okay.
Some of the snow and ice, a lot of these bodies are starting to be revealed. It's also dangerously crowded.
Okay, I've seen this footage.
Have you seen the photos and the footage of the
people
summit?
waiting in line.
Yeah.
And there's 2 inches to
Yes.
stand because people are there. It's so crowded. Yes.
Now remember that when I said earlier that a climber needs to time their ascent carefully so they have enough energy to make it through the death zone. You can't do that when you're in a line for 4 hours.
Right.
It's not, it's making it more dangerous.
So it's not even like you can, okay, I've reached the summit, now I'm exhausted, I'm going to sleep it off for a few days. You can't do that because there's only so much oxygen you have. Is that what you're saying? Like, you have to get down.
Yes.
You can't just rest.
No.
Okay.
So you've got this also the other issue of the going with the cheaper option, right? It's like, oh, should I go to this $9.99 buffet in Vegas?
Right.
Or the one that's $40 and you end up with food poisoning and you're like, oh, geez, I
Right.
really got what I paid for. And this is what's happening with the low budget guide options in
Okay.
Everest as well. I mean, I'm sure there's great ones, but they're not going to have the same knowledge, the best equipment. They might be understaffed.
Oy.
So how are they going to keep you safe if something goes wrong? They employ fewer Sherpas. So all of these clients who died on Everest, this is a quote, all the clients who died on Everest this past year went with low budget, less experienced operators, says Willie Benegas, 44, an Argentine-American high altitude guide and co-owner with his brother Damien of Benegas Brothers Expeditions. The brothers say that Nepalese outfitters need to be held to international standards. Okay, here's a positive change they just made in 2019. Climbers must now have, to get their permit, climbers must now have prior experience climbing at least one Nepalese peak over 21,000 feet, which seems crazy that they should have always had at least experience climbing a peak before you could do the biggest one in the world.
Well, that's going to way cut down on the people, right?
I would think. They also need to submit a certificate of good health and physical fitness and travel with a trained guide.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. Before this rule was passed, did some people who are expert climbers just go by themselves without a guide?
I think you can if you have the expertise. I think that's a possibility.
Okay.
I don't think it's against the law. So my how to survive summation would say, best way, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right, stay home.
If
Watch
you do,
K9 or whatever on that.
don't go the budget route.
Yes.
Use the oxygen. Don't be a hero.
Jesus.
Climb a bunch of other peaks first. Have a will in place. Go with someone who won't let you die on the mountain. And that leads me to my story.
Oh, boy.
Are you ready for a crazy story from Reader's Digest?
Yes.
You know that Reader's Digest is a trusted friend in a complicated world.
I do know that.
I love that.
Does this story come with a recipe for homemade mac and cheese?
I hope so, because that's one of my favorite things to eat. Near Everest Peak, the climbers faced a choice: head for the summit like others had done, or stop to save an injured man. He'd spent 7 hours clambering up the mountain through ice and snow, and now an exhausted Daniel Mazur sensed that success was near.
Oh, boy.
Although it was 10 degrees below zero near the top of Everest, the soft morning light revealed clear blue skies for miles around. This is perfect. We're definitely going to summit today, the climbing guy told himself, digging his crampons into the ice and taking a few more cautious steps. He and his companions were less than 3 hours away from the spectacular 29,035-foot summit. It was 7:30 a.m. when Mazur climbed onto a narrow ledge called Mushroom Rock to rest and offer encouragement to his summit climb teammates, Andrew Brash of Canada, Myle Osborne of England, and their Sherpa guide, Jongbu. As the men looked out on the snow-covered peaks below, Mazur suddenly saw a flash of bright yellow to his left. Was it a tent? No way, he thought, squinting to take a closer look. No climber would camp out at this altitude. The yellow blur moved again, and Mazur's jaw dropped in amazement. What the hell? He wondered. Sorry, guys. I need to take a drink. Perched precariously on the edge of a jagged cliff was a man sitting cross-legged, trying to change his shirt. His thick snowsuit was unzipped to the waist, and he had no hat, gloves, or sunglasses.
Oh, my God.
Without an oxygen mask, sleeping bag, food, or water, there was no reason for Lincoln Hall to be alive at 28,000 feet, and he seemed to know it. Pulling his frostbitten hands out of his shirt, Hall looked up at Mazur. "I imagine you were surprised to see me here," he said. Hall had been alone on the mountain since 7:30 the night before. Following an arduous climb up the North Ridge, he and his teammates had reached the summit at 9 that morning. After celebrating the glorious view of the Earth's curve and posing for victory photos, they started on their descent, hoping to reach camp before dangerous afternoon storms rolled in. But at 28,000 feet, Hall's feet had stopped moving.
Oh, God.
And he was overcome by a deep fatigue.
Oh, God.
He turned to one of the Sherpas he was climbing with. "I need to lie down. I need to sleep," he told him. With 25 years of experience behind him, Hall was a seasoned mountaineer. He had climbed Everest once before in 1984, but failed to summit. Now, although he didn't have the presence of mind to realize it, he was suffering from cerebral edema, a severe form of altitude sickness. The condition causes the brain to swell and leads to a stumbling, intoxicated gait, hallucinations, and eventually death. In fact, this area of the mountain, right below the summit, is known as the death zone. It is incredibly steep and icy, requiring requiring climbers to use fixed ropes and ice axes to hack their way to the top and then back down again. And because of the high altitude, if a climber is going to get sick, it usually happens here. Normally, the descent from here to advanced base camp takes about 2 hours, but Hall was weak and increasingly uncooperative as the edema overtook him. 2 Sherpas had to lower him down between them, wasting precious daylight while the rest of the group kept going. After 9 hours, Hall went limp. He appeared to be dead, and the Sherpas were ordered by their leader to leave him on the mountain. It's not uncommon for people to freeze to death climbing in the mountains. Checking one last time for signs of life, one of the men poked Hall in the eye. When there was no response, they gathered his backpack, food, water, and extra oxygen and returned to the high camp. So they just took all that with them and left him there.
Jesus Christ.
Just hours before, another climber...
The pulse thing doesn't work? You got to poke someone in the eye?
I guess
You don't
so.
have a mirror handy? You can see if their breath... You got to do a Three Stooges on the poor guy?
They did a three... that's the medical term. They did a Three
They did
Stooges.
Three Stooges, okay.
Just hours before, another climber, a German man named Thomas Weber, suffered similar symptoms, then collapsed and died less than 20 yards from Hall. And 10 days before, David Sharp, a climber from Great Britain, had become seriously ill from the high altitude and died beneath a rock overhang. 40 other climbers intent on reaching the summit had passed by, refusing to help. Almost any experienced climber who's been on Mount Everest knows somebody who didn't make it back. 2 of Dan Mazur's friends, Rob Hall, no relation to Lincoln, and Scott Fisher died in the notorious snowstorm that killed 6 other climbers in 1996. Their bodies and nearly 200 others are scattered across Everest's treacherous slopes, preserved for eternity in snow and ice.
Oh, my God.
There are times when you literally have to step over somebody's body to get to the top, said Mazur. It's a grim reminder that you'd never lose respect for the mountain. Is it?
Is life not hard enough for people?
I know, right?
They have to create these
obstacles for themselves.
obstacles in which they could die
I'm like-
for literally no reason.
Yeah, like, I gotta go to this place and step over dead bodies so I can feel alive.
Jesus.
Near the peak on that crisp, clear May morning, a mountaineer's dream, Mazur describes.
Maybe just try manscaping or something.
Or just get a garden.
Get a garden.
That feels risky enough to me.
Yeah.
I can't keep this zucchini alive.
Yeah, you're going to step over dead zucchinis. and you'll feel alive.
That's working for me. He and his team members quietly realized they had a choice to make. Should they phone in Lincoln Hall's predicament to his group, 7 Summits, and continue on, or stay with him until help arrived? Mazur had reached the summit once before in 1991, but for Brash and Osborne, who had spent $20,000 each to make this expedition, it was the dream of a lifetime. In the end, Mazur knew there was only one possible decision to make. Luckily, he says, everyone made the right one. Osborne spoke first. "We can't leave the guy." They all agreed. Not only was Hall frostbitten and disoriented, he could slip and plunge down the 8,000-foot Kenshung face at any moment. We found him sitting on a 3-by-3-foot platform covered with snow and ice. It's hard to believe he didn't roll over the edge during the night.
God.
The men got Hall.
My God. Oh my God.
They got him away from the cliff's edge and helped him back into his snowsuit. Rummaging through their backpacks, they shared their oxygen, lemonade, and Snickers bars. "Can you tell me how you got here?" asked Mazur. "No," said Hall. "Can you tell me your name?" Hall hesitated, then broke into a grin. "Yes," he exclaimed. "My name is Lincoln Hall. Can you tell me how I got here?"
Oh.
Thank God he's coming around, Mazur thought, but Hall wasn't coherent for long. "This is a great boat ride we're on."
Oh, for
he kept
God's
saying.
sake. Oh my God.
Still hallucinating, he stretched out his arms like he was about to do a backflip. He tried again to remove his snowsuit, then lunged for the cliff. "Whoa, where do you think you're going?" Mazur grabbed him in a bear hug and tackled him onto the ice. Does this guy have a death wish? He wondered. Then he flashed on his late friend, Scott Fisher, who died on Everest. When climbers came across Fisher's body, he was partially undressed, a bare arm sticking out of his unzipped down suit. Mazur knew it was common for people in the last stages of hypothermia to tear off their clothes.
And tunnel.
Yep, burrowing, naked burrowing.
Naked burrowing.
He also knew they tended to act like 3-year-olds having a tantrum. Hall was belligerent. He wasn't listening. Or maybe he wasn't capable of processing what was being said. Either way, Mazur decided, I wasn't going to let this guy we were trying to save kill himself. "Come on," Mazur told his teammates. "We've got to keep him away from the ledge." It looked like they'd have to anchor Hall to the mountain to keep him from lunging off. They drove an ice axe into the snow, then attached a sling, mountaineers lingo, for a strong nylon tether, which they tied to him with a figure-8 knot. They secured him.
He's like Gulliver's Travels, but upright.
Yes, radioed down to base camp. Go over to the Seven Summits camp. Get their guys out of bed and get them to the radio. 10 minutes later, the head Sherpa on Hall's team came on the radio. Lincoln Hall is in big trouble and needs your help. There was a long pause. You mean he's alive? How alive is he?
Poked him in the eye.
Well, he's moving around. He's talking. We need extra food, water, and oxygen to get him down. You've got some guys in high camp, right? Send them up. The Russian climber agreed to send all the Sherpas he could gather. You can't blame the Sherpas for leaving Hall in the mountain, said Mazur. It's their job to help us climb, but it's not their job to die. For more than 4 hours, Mazur and his team waited, stomping their feet and pacing on the small snow-capped ledge to stay warm. At that point, no one knew if Hall was going to live. He shivered uncontrollably, his head jerked up and down. He was suffering from snow blindness, common at high altitudes on such a bright, clear day. His fingers were so frozen they looked like pale yellow wax. The team was relieved when 2 Italian climbers suddenly appeared on the ledge. Good morning, we've got a guy in trouble. Can you help? The men kept moving toward the summit. Sorry, no speak English, was all they said. Mazur would spot them later at base camp, speaking English very well. All I can say is God bless their souls. It was almost noon when a dozen Sherpas finally arrived to help take Hall back to base camp. He was able to walk down to high camp with a guide on either side of him. From there, he rode a yak to base, bumping down the mountain on a saddle made of foam sleeping mats. So
There's yaks up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It took 2 days to make it down. He was recuperating in his tent before the 100-mile trip to a hospital in Kathmandu. I hope that after all this, he's a nice guy, Mazur thought. He wasn't disappointed, although Hall was still groggy and slurring his words. They clearly understood when he said thank you for saving his life. Hall would need surgery to amputate the tips of 6 fingers.
Yeah.
Still, he knows he's a lucky man, that he very well could have been the 12th person to die on Everest that year, the deadliest season since the 1996 tragedy. If any one of our listeners has climbed Everest or
something similar,
like a big mountain, I would love, it doesn't have to be a survival story. I just want to hear about it.
There's climbing and then there's cold.
Yes.
And putting those two things together seems like my worst nightmare. I mean, the climbing part sounds kind of fun and cool, but not, I mean, to a certain level, not the where your mind is mush and you're...
No.
Oh my God.
Anything where it's like, I might start thinking I'm on a boat and just want to jump off the side of a mountain.
The guy on the boat thought he was on land and the guy on the mountain thought he was on a boat.
Yes.
If only they could have switched places.
Yeah, that would have been great for them.
Well, that's fantastic that the guy survived. So how do they call because they had a Sherpa with them and the Sherpa called like on a radio or something,
they have radios
walkie-talkie kind of thing.
Call down.
And call to the base. Okay, got it.
How bad did that guy feel that poked him in the eye when he got the news?
How alive? He's alive?
How alive is he?
I like the Italians just sipping...
Me no
espresso.
speak English.
And also if you didn't, you couldn't understand what was going on. But the guy's strapped to the mountain.
So many people are like, I'm just going to keep... They leave people to die because they're like, no, I'm going to get my summit. Oh my God. That would never be a choice for me. I wouldn't care how much money was involved.
No, of course not. Wow. Well, thank you. That was really interesting and scary. I felt like I was there.
We kind of did climb Everest.
We did
together.
a little bit.
I feel like the three of us were
metaphorically.
We summited. We played a game of ping pong.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if they go to 11 points or if they have to make it shorter, like to 9, because so many people are waiting.
It's a long line. I think they got to do a real short game.
Yeah.
What if you get up there and you forgot your paddle?
You'd be so mad.
Oh my God, so mad. All right, well, we will be right back.
Yeah.
With our guest. Welcome back to How to Survive with Danielle and Kristine. My voice is cracking.
Are you hitting puberty?
I think I'm finally hitting it.
Oh my gosh.
I knew I was a late bloomer, but this is ridiculous.
I want to bring in our guest, Amanda Deibert. We're very excited to have her here. I'm going to tell you a little bit. I'm going to tell our audience a little bit. I'm going to introduce them to the magic that is Amanda Deibert. Okay. She is a very talented comic book writer, comedian, funny writer as well.
Sometimes.
I've
hopefully funny.
She's very funny. She's funny on Twitter, and she's also like she has a lovely heart. She has a lot of warmth on Twitter, and she's, I think you should follow her, and we're going to put all her socials up. She has a book coming out called You Already Have the Answers, a gratitude journal. And you can pre-order it now. Pre-orders matter, folks. So
Yeah.
make a great gift, I think, for the holidays.
Say the name again, Amanda.
You already have the answers.
Okay, great.
Listen to this for my comic book fans. She's got the Darkwing Duck coming out, right?
Yes,
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Darkwing Duck. It was, it was the cartoon in the 90s. Now I'm doing the comic book series that comes out.
If I mess any of this part up because I'm not as well versed in comic books, anyone can slap me across the face.
It's okay.
Star Wars Hyper Stories.
Hyperspace stories.
Jesus Christ! It's
all Jar Jar.
Yeah, it's all caffeine.
I'm gonna get this one right.
Jesus Christ!
I'm sorry, guys.
Great.
John Carpenter's Tales for a Hollywood Night. No, we're gonna edit this one. We can
We're
edit.
not editing. Amanda, Chris thought Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was a Marvel movie. So this is the.
I mean, look, it is a multiverse. It is a multiverse too.
It's not my area of expertise.
No,
but I want to get it right. John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night. I know who John Carpenter is.
Yes.
He's in the horror genre.
He is.
He is in the horror genre. I have to say, my first non-babysitting job was at a comic book store, and I don't know that much more than you do. So I just sat there and read Far Side cartoons and stuff the whole time. But I do have a 15-year-old son, so I know a little more, but not so much.
But we have somebody here who knows a lot, and that's Garen.
Yes.
So
Yes, I'm
I think
very embarrassed for you.
he's excited. You're very embarrassed for me? I don't mind. Like, you know what?
Of all the things to be embarrassed about, this
I
is
should have
not
just
one
kept
of
it to like Wonder Woman and
No,
the basics.
I love all of this. I love embarrassing myself. Okay, Amanda, we're so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
And
In the first half of the show, we
Thank
talked
you.
about climbing Mount Everest, and now with Amanda, we're going to talk about falling off a cliff. Mm-hmm. So, is this a metaphorical cliff, Amanda? or-
I wish.
Okay.
I wish it was. I mean, I've fallen from many metaphorical cliffs in my life.
Same.
Constantly, probably will again this week. But this was a literal edge of a mountain in the Appalachians.
Okay.
Because I'm originally from the East Coast, and I was living in Central Florida and attending a private Pentecostal school.
whoa.
Yeah, as one does.
Is this a high school?
Yeah, this was a high school. So, as a young figuring out I was a lesbian, that's a great place to be.
Holy moly. This is
wanna
shades
be-
of Dave Holmes at Catholic College.
Yes.
It's exactly where you want to be is
Yeah.
in the 1990s as a young lesbian in Central Florida at a Pentecostal school.
Can I ask real quick, because I am not super well versed, but Pentecostal is like charismatic?
It's very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
So we would have chapels, but then everyone would start speaking in tongues and falling on
Yeah.
the floor and rolling on all over each other.
Yeah, it's like hardcore, right?
I've seen that.
Yes, and if the revival and the Spirit's moving, they won't make you leave and go to class. So you know what? Every Friday, we were sobbing, we were speaking in tongues, we were rolling on the floor. Now, very real in a sense for some people, very
Okay.
not real in a sense for
Okay.
others, and also very like, well, hey, if I'm going to have a real spiritual movement, it might as well be at the time that we were going to have a math test, right?
Oh my God.
If you're going to find
and as
Jesus.
as a burgeoning lesbian, maybe it's fun to roll around on the floor with other young ladies.
Yeah, cheerleading was also fun for lots of reasons. But we had to add an extra inches to our cheerleading
Sure.
skirts because
It was giving me a blah,
Right,
just
right.
speaking in tongues. Okay.
perfect.
So
Nailed it. No math.
Sounded
test
like
for you.
Dracula. No math test for me.
So with this school, we would go on a lot of cool field trips because it was a very small school. My whole grade was 12 people.
Oh my God.
And we knew each other very well. So we had trips we went to the Keys, and then this guy's brother was on the Coast Guard, so they would take us out to this island way past the Keys that they used to use as a prison, and they left us there overnight to sleep there.
Wait, with no adult supervision?
Oh no, we had teachers with us and stuff. And then we'd every year we would go to Daytona beach as a school, which sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Except, have you ever passed out religious tracts to people during spring break at Daytona Beach? Because I have.
Wow. Wow.
Did they just use it to catch their barfin or something?
Probably. But we had to like go out in teams, and like we had like certain questions we had to ask people to like help bring them to Jesus at Daytona Beach during spring break.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. That's a Sisyphean.
Yeah. So I didn't die on those trips, or almost die on those trips.
But just of shame, maybe, or like embarrassment.
Those were maybe the metaphoric cliffs. But we did a group backpacking trip in the Appalachians in Georgia, where we all went as a class. I believe this was 9th grade. We all went as a class. We had like 3 chaperones, I think, and we backpacked for a week.
Wow.
And like we like slept in a cemetery, like out in the open, like did all this stuff. It was kind of cool and fun.
Yeah.
And beforehand, they had to like prep us on, what you need to do if you need to use the bathroom, because we're like out in the wilderness. So, a lot of all the like digging a hole and, and they had to send the boys away to go play basketball so they could talk to us about what to do if we were on our period, because like blood can attract animals.
Oh,
so
wow.
then there was a lot of like
And
double
the devil.
baggage joke. And the devil, yes.
Right,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes, you're simultaneously attracting Satan
Yes.
and like maybe a mountain lion.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And which is
that could be one and the
equally-
same.
Yes, a demon-possessed mountain lion.
Yes.
So we were really, especially the girls, we were really stressed about the bathroom situation.
Yeah.
And praying that our menses did not come. And I was not on my period for this, so at least there was that. But one day we had been like hiking all day, and I really needed to use the restroom, and everybody had like stopped in this little clearing. But it was like we were, like 14 or something.
Yeah.
You don't really want to, like, you're not quite in that place where you're comfortable enough to just, like, pop a squat in front of your whole, maybe you're never.
I was going to
in that
say.
place.
Yeah.
Not once in my life has that been an option.
I mean, maybe if alcohol were involved in copious quantities.
Sure.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Ugh.
Though even then. So I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm going to like try to like hike up the trail a little bit, like away from everybody while everyone's taking a break.
Yeah.
So I hiked up this trail and then like dug my little hole and like I bent down, and then I realized that like I need to poop. And I was like, well, I guess this is, gotta happen. And so like I start to go, and then like this couple not in our group but just like like random hikers who exist in the world, they start walking down the trail, and I realized
no.
I had gone away from all of my friends, which meant I was just like on the edge of the mountain. Like I was more focused on getting away from the other teenagers
Right.
than on like having a lot of space in which to do my business. And so like I see these hikers coming, and just instinctually I step backwards.
Oh God.
But that's off the mountain.
Oh,
Like-
no.
So, and then I'm like falling. There's my pants and my panties are down around my ankles.
No.
There is shit coming out of my ass, and I'm falling off the side of the Appalachian Mountains as a teenage girl. And so, like, I happened to like grab a tree. Like a thin tree that's like going off the side and defying gravity. And so like then I'm just hanging from this tree, shit covered and half naked, and I'm like, do I yell for help, or should I just like die? Because it might be, but if I die, then I will also be half naked and covered in shit.
Yeah,
That's not the way I want to die.
Right.
No, you don't be found that way.
It's not on my top 10 list of ways to go. And so I was like, okay. So I decided not to yell for help.
Now, did the couple see you?
I don't know. I hope not, because
Okay.
I literally died not to. Like I was like,
Right.
I will do anything for them not to see me.
Right.
I assume they didn't, because they didn't come to help.
Yeah. I think
mean,
they would have helped you. Yeah.
One would hope.
Right.
There also was a half naked person falling down in poop, so like maybe that was scary for them.
Yeah. Sure.
I like probably thought that I was not in my right mind, because who would do that? So I decided not to yell for help. So I was like trying to like.
Did you get the sweats? Like those?
Oh God, yeah.
Those like embarrassment.
The panic sweats?
Yeah. The what?
The panic sweats?
Yeah. When you're just like, oh my God, there's no way out of this. Like,
So then I'm trying to get my feet. I'm like doing it with my body as if anyone can see. I'm trying to get my feet, around the tree to like help me get up. Except that again, like my jeans and my panties are around my feet. So like my legs are bound together, and I'm holding onto this tree. And so then I'm like shimmying my entire body to like get like my jeans to kind of become the rope as I pull. So like I pull myself around the tree. I finally do manage to like get to a place where I can claw
okay.
my way like kind of up the side of the mountain and then like pull up my underwear and pull up my pants and then I just like wiped myself off and went back down and pretended like nothing had ever.
Oh my God, you didn't tell anybody.
No, absolutely
Well,
not for years, not for like 10 years.
How did you clean yourself off?
Well,
Leaves?
there was some toilet paper that I brought with me.
Oh, okay.
I kind of like found where I had left some of that, and like it was a real
haphazard.
Was there? I'm sorry to get so specific on this, but did you have any of the fecal matter on the outside of your clothes?
Luckily, no.
That's good.
No,
But you must have smelled.
I mean, maybe. I hope not.
Right.
I hope not. I did definitely like change my clothes as soon as I possibly
good.
could.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was not the best moment of my life.
I'm just picturing a postcard of you hanging off of a tree and like wish you were here.
Hang in there.
Like, hang in there. Yeah. Just
Like the kitten.
Yeah. Just naked poop.
There is
terrifying.
there is art like that because
What? What, my dream just come true?
when I first met my wife, Kat Staggs, who's a comic book illustrator, we made a webcomic together for a couple years, and it was called Hot Mess, and it was me telling embarrassing stories about my life.
Oh my God.
And her illustrating it. So we have like this 4-panel story that is, and the last panel is me just like hanging
my God.
with my pants around my ankle saying, should I yell for help or should I just die? So like it does, what you just described does exist in the world.
amazing.
Can't wait to see it.
That art.
Okay, so wait, what's your wife's name?
Kat Staggs.
And do you guys work together?
Oh, we do sometimes. So for the John Carpenter's Tales for Halloween Night, we do that together. We've done several Wonder Woman things together. We did Wonder Woman 77 together, and we did a Serena Williams Wonder Woman team up. Did you see those DirecTV commercials where like she turns into Wonder Woman?
I have not.
So they did those commercials for DirecTV, and then they had Kat and I do a comic book series to like go with it. So it's like,
My God.
there's an alternate universe where Serena Williams is Wondrous Serena and Diana Prince is a tennis star. And then,
Friday.
Things happen. Everybody gets switched around. The 4 of them have to like team up and work together. So it's Wonder Woman and Wondrous Serena and Diana Prince, and it's
How fun.
That's really cool.
Oh my God. You have like the coolest job.
It's a fun job. It's a really fun job.
Really good. Wow. Okay. So I'm just curious, how did you get started in comic books?
Dating my wife.
So you weren't already, okay.
I was a TV writer. So I was already a writer. I had never written comics before. And then I started dating Kat, and she was an illustrator. Then we started doing the Hot Mess comics together, as like, because at the time I was doing a lot of comedy writing, and so like it was like it was like funny online comic strips. And then I made a YouTube video that was like a joke about I'm an orphan, and it was a joke on Father's Day about being an orphan, where like I slowly turned into Batman over the course of the video. And because Batman's also an orphan. That's like a big joke.
Thank you.
It's really obscure. Most people don't cover it that much.
And so he's a superhero for DC.
I heard of him, but I didn't. I did need that.
Okay, so he's an orphan.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You didn't know he was an orphan?
Well, I did, but I didn't make the connection.
You didn't make the connection. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Movie theater, pearls going everywhere.
So
okay.
much like Batman, I'm also a billionaire now.
Yes.
But so it went around. It went around a little bit and went through the DC offices, and then an editor was like, "Hey, I've seen your Hot Mess comics, and I saw this funny Batman video. Would you like to write Wonder Woman?" As always happens when you make a comedy video online.
That's
and I
wonderful.
said, "Yeah, the most iconic female superhero of all time.
Maybe.
No pressure. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Be great." And so I did.
Can I go back to the story for a second?
Please, let's do. Let's go
You
back
said
to
you
me
didn't tell
dangling.
anyone for 10 years.
Yeah.
Who was the first person you told, and what was the context?
The world on the internet for the Hot Mess comic, because I was.
No. But so you must have told your wife first.
Well, I mean, yes, because she drew it. But yeah, I was just thinking about embarrassing stories from my life, because that was the thing, and we did one every week. And then I guess I just, I was hiking a lot at the time here in LA, and I guess it just like came back to me, and I was like, oh my God, right. That time that I fell off the cliff and thought I was going to die naked and covered in shit. And then I decided to just claw my way back up instead of yelling, because if I'd yelled for help, like people would have come, I could have gotten, it took a while. It is not easy with your ankles tied together by your panties to then climb a mountain. Like, oh my God. It's steep. There's leaves. You're slipping. It's a long way down. It's very stressful.
I think you're a hero. I think you're a superhero a little bit. Not all heroes wear capes or pants pulled up.
I don't know if it's a self-inflicted tragedy and
point.
you're too worried about your own ego to call for help. I don't know if that's
So
I think
funny.
14 though, right? You said
Yeah,
you're 14.
right,
I mean,
right.
that's an age where you won't even like change your shirt in front of another girl at a sleepover.
Yes.
Right.
You're very steeped in like
Yes.
the idea that you could get embarrassed is
Right.
very intense.
100%.
So this all tracks.
yes. But it is one of those things, like, I wouldn't recommend it. Like, if you do fall off a cliff, naked or not, I think the right thing to do is to yell for help and let people come and help you.
Okay. So don't do what you did.
Don't do what I did, though I did survive, so maybe.
Maybe
it's
Jesus
fine.
was with you. Maybe he heard all your fake mumblings on the floor and was like, I got to help this kid out.
Jesus gave you a tree branch.
Yeah.
to hold on to.
He did. It's like footprints in the sand.
But it's footprints and shit.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
But the devil made you poop near a cliff. He
Yes.
called you to the edge.
I think that's fair.
Or the devil created those two people.
Yeah, do we know that they even were people? Might they have been demon-possessed mountain lions?
They might have. They might have been.
We don't know.
we don't.
I never saw them again, so,
Yeah.
who's
Oh,
to say?
see, there. I think right there we know the answer.
Wow.
Wow. That was a really fun story.
Amazing. Fantastic story. Thank you so much for telling us your story.
It's
Amanda.
great to share times when you're covered in shit. There's nothing I love more.
I don't think we would say that like poop stories are our favorite stories, but we do love a story that has an element of danger
Yes.
and an element of shame.
Comedy, shame,
And comedy.
danger.
This is so much
Amanda,
fun.
you brought the perfect triad
Yes.
of the How to Survive universe.
You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
If I could bring in some kind of superhero comic book reference right
You
now,
would do it.
I would do it, but I am not capable. So if Garen
Right.
or Danielle could jump in at any moment.
Triad. I can only think of the Fantastic Four, and that's 4.
Is there a multiverse reference someone can throw in?
Didn't Superman have a dog and a cousin or something?
He has a cousin.
I know he has a cousin.
He does have a dog.
Yeah.
Is this the day that Garen quits?
Jesus. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for being on. That was awesome.
We loved your story. You're a great guest.
We love you.
Thank you.
Please come back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Another time. And I think you have more stories.
I sadly do.
I cannot wait. All right, we'll be right back with What Did We Learn Today? Chris, are you ready to learn what we learned today?
Teach me, wise one.
Start your party. Mad Libs is a gateway to more harsher things like balderdash. In the 19th century, the mountain was named after George Everest, a former surveyor general of India. The Tibetan name is Chamolungma.
Nailed it.
Which means Mother Goddess of the World.
Aww.
The Nepali name is Sagarmatha, which has various meanings. And we're not going to tell you any of them.
Nah, keeping it to ourselves.
Officials have erected a pantry door on the top of Everest to track its growth spurts.
What? A pantry door?
Oh, he's being funny. I just
Because
realized.
it grows a quarter inch every
Like,
year.
like you put a line. I swear to God, I was just reading it and really believed
Karen,
it.
that's funny.
That's
I
really
love that.
funny. You're probably leaving appendages behind when you climb Everest.
Yeah, you're losing some fingers.
$5,000 is equal to 36,527.50 Chinese yuan. It's not yen. It's
No, that's Japanese.
oh,
It's yuan-
I'm an
yuan.
idiot.
I thought the same thing.
Yuan.
Yeah.
Kathmandu is a song by Bob Seger
Yes.
and the capital of Nepal.
Yes.
You're only slightly more likely to die on Everest than in a car, but it's cheaper to die in a car.
Depends on the car.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't. That's true. That's true.
All right. Which one are you going to pick?
Yeah, right. Climbing Everest is a very expensive way to probably die. Reader's Digest is the warm quilt of magazine publications. I agree with that. It's
Yeah.
cozy.
It's also one of the most read publications in the world.
Still,
Yeah, still.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Guys.
Oh, wait, before we go.
Yeah.
We've been on this show for a year.
Yes.
And I have never done this, and I keep kicking myself that I've never done this. If you also like scripted podcasts,
Yes.
I wrote on a podcast that Rainn Wilson co-created and stars in
Yes.
called Dark Air with Terry Carnation. And you can find that wherever podcasts are found. It's really fun. He, if you don't know, Rainn Wilson was Dwight on The Office, and he plays a guy who's really a radio host who's kind of an Art Bell type who's like into the paranormal. But there's actually an arching.
He's kind of a what type?
Art Bell was a radio guy who was into the paranormal and had a radio show. Oh. And whether or not he always believed his guests, you don't know.
Yeah.
But he had an open mind and he went with it. And he was a little paranoid. And anyway, he's sort of like that. And there's great guest stars because all the callers, there's a regular cast of people, but there's also a bunch of callers every episode. And it's just really fun. And you might be delighted to hear it. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. I have this platform.
Well,
I've never talked about
we
it.
should be talking about
Yeah,
it. We're
it's
gonna
super fun.
Guess where we're gonna put it?
In the show notes.
the newsletter,
That's
and
right.
the show notes,
And
you guys, we've got some great merchandise coming.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I am so excited to get this out
On the
because
road.
you know it's coming the holidays.
That's right.
People are going to be like, "What am I going to get? I got to get something."
Yep.
And that we're going to have the right stuff for you guys.
Very
so
soon.
don't forget, like us, subscribe to us, tweet at us, tell us hi, whatever. We love to hear from you. It's
Sign up
so
for the
fun for
newsletter.
us. Sign up for the newsletter. It's just a way to support us.
And until next time, remain calm.